Coffee with the Summerland Kids. It is, let's see, it's Tuesday. It's the 30th of July, which is crazy, 2024. This is show number 82. The current temperature in Summerland is 59 degrees with a high of 76. Partly cloudy, which ain't so bad when you're in a little town by the beach and it's 76 degrees and the clouds are doing the sunblock for you. So that's a good call.
It's just odd to think the high on a summer day is 76, because I remember being a kid down on the beach and it never seemed cool, but 76 seems like a cool temperature. It seems a little bit cooler, I guess, because we were always running around, burning up calories, creating our own heat.
yeah, right. Building forts, building bamboo forts on the beach, or finding someone else's fort they'd left behind and taking over the fort. And what else? July. There might still be some hidden fireworks left over in the sand from 4th of July if you're lucky out there, So
yeah. If they didn't get soaked, I know every now and then.
I know, right?
King tides would come in and pretty much get the whole beach wet.
Yeah, I know exactly, and change that whole beach. I mean, there were so many cool changes. It was like our playground would like transform to different situations during different times. I think 82, actually in the year 1982, there was perhaps a big El Nino storm that came and really changed it up a bit for a second, at least,
Oh, absolutely. It's a wonderful thing that things aren't always the same every single day.
Right. Yeah. Remember that house on stilts down there, that house on the seawall? It was like, that thing, when the waves got big, my dad has pictures of the waves hitting the seawall and bouncing up and splashing, like you can't even see the house. It's like covered in whitewash for a second while the splash covers the house, kind of style.
Do you know if that house is still there? I think.
Oh yeah, I think it's still there, dude. Yeah, it's too valuable for those people. It might be a vacation rental. I have no idea. I mean, it's kind of a wild thing that guy pulled off the permitting process. I think he was maybe a notorious OG of sorts to like get that project done. When he did, because it had to have been, as long as I can remember, it was there. It might have been built in like 1969 or something like that.
Yeah,
so
that's amazing. I don't know how much permitting has changed, but I did look into it here to find out, what it would take to permit and build a house here in Orville, and it's pretty close to $50,000.
Whoa! Is that
the permits?
Oh my God! Wow! And that's just like for someone to like. And that doesn't include like your architect, if you had an architect, or what do you call it? Like my mom did a house where she found a company that made prefabricated log homes, and it came in sections. So some areas have different building codes, of course, and then what they will approve. But wow, 50 grand. I mean, I guess in a sense, if you already have water and electricity, if there's already a box on the land, and then maybe there's already, maybe someone tore down an old house, and there'd be like some sort of plug and play with the sewage and all that. Who knows? I mean, it's pretty amazing what it costs. A friend of mine up here drilled a well next to an existing well. They had to go deeper. I think they went 700 feet down. Cost them 70 grand. So that's a substantial amount of money to throw down on water, essentially, just to get water.
Oh yeah,
dude, quite an investment.
and you got to know what you're doing. I was talking to some well drillers, and they have their techniques, they have their insight. And
Yeah.
I was watching this show where this guy was actually doing the dowsing rods and could kind of say how much water and how deep it was, and he was pretty accurate. It's pretty amazing to think that just a couple of wires, holding a couple of wires, can help you find it. But when I was living in
Wow.
Atascadero, we had um, a tree growing into the sewer line, and
Uh-huh.
so the plumber came out there and had his dowsing rods and dowsed around for a bit and said, okay, this is where the spot is that we dig, and we dug, and sure enough, the sewer line was there. So I guess it's the electromagnetic force from the water, uh,
Trippy.
affects the environment and influences those divining rods.
Yeah. Wow. That's amazing. Um, thankfully, I guess in Summerland in the old days, they must have run. I mean, of course, the town is so darn small, but and talk about little grid. The little grid of Summerland, and then we maybe got water from Montecito Water, because I know Montecito had a water district. Summerland had a sanitation district, but I'm not sure about water district type in Summerland. But anyways, we were all on the grid as kids. We were off the grid in our mind,
Uh,
but but on the grid as far as having power to our little houses and stuff. And it was only like in the later, I want to say later 70s, that we started to get some bigger houses built. And especially in my neighborhood, there was a couple bigger ones that got built down on the beach because it was just the prime spot to build a nice beach house. People came and definitely built the dream. Like it was the first guy to build next to us. I think he was a contractor, a building contractor, and so he had his obviously enough work going on in Santa Barbara to afford to build a nice big house. But it turned out it was a little. Maybe he consciously built it and then moved on. To be ahead of the curve. I think my grandpa kept doing that too, always moving to the next best thing. But anyways,
that is
you
a
guys,
way to make some money. I mean, if you're got the knowledge and the equipment and the funding for the property and the materials, you buy the property, get the permits, hook everything up to the power, build the house. It definitely adds value to that lot, that property, and you could definitely make some profit if you're smart enough to understand the markets, and you don't make too many mistakes as far as estimates or
yeah,
using lumber. It
right,
brings me back to when I was younger, some of the big construction sites that I was on, and just you know how much wood and how much planning goes into it. Like with the hookups for the sewer and the water, it's hard to imagine, but every house has a sewer line and a water line hooked to it, and
yeah,
that runs through the city and runs through the town. Big places like New York City, it's just kind of
woo,
considering how many lines, just the line going into a building is like a whole little infrastructure inside the building.
yeah. I know, and we did a little bit of that job I was telling you about. I was on it had to have been early 1900s building for sure, 100 years old, and some of the piping was 100 years old. The landlord slash entrepreneur guy that I was working for had to cut out some sections of that pipe and put in some new sections, and it's old cast iron, the old cast iron piping. And when you said that, I was automatically thinking of um, almost like trees or veins, and how they come out like in our body. Of course, we have a whole with the cardiovascular system, just the whole entire network of these lines running through our body, and the lines to supply houses is somewhat similar. It's like coming from the heart of the city, the water plant, and then fanning out to the locations. And of course, every now and then you got a spot for the firemen to plug into, the fire hydrants. So it's quite complicated. I mean, the old days, I think the freaking Egyptians had even some water systems that they figured out how to bring water in. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, water is definitely necessary for life.
Yeah.
At least the life we understand and the human
Yeah.
that we're in.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
And just, making it easily accessible. Like back in the day, you're on a farm, you had to dig a well or go to a community well and even carry the water home. That just seems like a lot of time and effort just to get the water we need. I guess we take it for granted that we could just go to the shower, go to the faucet and the sink and just turn on the hose or turn on the faucet and the water is coming out. Great.
Yeah. Exactly. I saw some YouTube stuff where they actually have a pipe. I'm imagining it's like maybe let's say 4 foot, 5 foot circumference, and there's sections of it. They basically plop that down on the ground and then start digging. I guess in the middle of it, around it, essentially the pipe starts to go downward, and it makes one of those old-fashioned wells when it's all done, where in the cartoons in the old days, it was like there's like a little crank and a bucket that goes down into the well, and you bring the water up. So some people are still using that method, that old-fashioned well with a large essentially a little tunnel going down to the water. And I guess you just hope that water is clean. I guess in the old days, freaking grandma was boiling that water on the stove. So that's probably how you purify the water, was just by boiling it for a bit,
Yeah. I mean, it's think about what it takes to operate a city. I mean, I complain about taxes. Everybody complains about taxes, but all that infrastructure has got to be maintained. The city water, the city streets department. Someone's got to do it. You can't just expect that water to run forever. Every now and then you get, water main breaks and everything. And it definitely takes a lot of money to run a city.
Yeah. I think there's a fair amount of downtime sometimes for the workers, but when they get called to work, it's like, hey, back in the old days, I'm sure your pager went off, but nowadays it's like your phone goes off and it's like, you got to go down to 5th and Main Street right away. There's a broken line. And so you're just called out, and there goes your schedule. You're on the job, and you got to stay there till it's freaking done, to get everybody back up and running,
Yeah,
so,
it's wild, because of city main breaks, they somehow get it done as fast as they do.
Yeah.
There's issues every day.
Yeah, exactly. And that on that note, that's like I was telling you in 1982. This is show number 82. It was "Let's Get Physical." Olivia Newton-John was the hit song of 1982. I guess it carried over from 1981, but somehow it topped out at the end of the year, 1982. "Let's Get Physical." That was a classic video too, like almost definitely some humor there with her and the fashion, the women's fitness. It was like coming into real vogue, because I think maybe around that same time I'd have to look up when MTV started, but I definitely remember the music video. So I think by that time we were on the music video trend, was just beginning.
That's back in the leg warmer era, right? Remember everyone wore the leg warmers, all the girls.
Yeah, the leg warmers.
I guess that was before they called them yoga pants. They called them tights.
Yeah, tights and the leg warmers. Yeah, that was like a whole jazzercise, was the whole thing too.
Yeah, my mom actually went and got I guess certified or whatever, took the class.
Yeah.
Really into the jazzercise, really into
Yeah.
the lady that created the jazzercise and was always, oh, I got to go to my jazzercise class. In fact, when I was
Yeah.
in junior high in Morro Bay, me and my sister were old enough to be left alone. I
Uh-huh.
guess I don't know the
Yeah.
legality of it,
Yeah.
but she went to New York or somewhere for like a week
Oh,
to
wow.
take some class or something. And so me and my sister were there alone. I mean, we had the neighbors knew we were there, and they'd check us on us every day. But
Uh-huh.
that was a fun week, to say the
Classic.
least.
Yeah, no, for sure. I can imagine. I mean, that I actually think I remember your mom coming to teach us like a dance class at the at Summerland School. Remember that we had those little lines that we'd stand on. It was like a little fitness PE situation that they would do with us. They'd take us outside and we'd line up and we'd do some stretches and you know,
Yeah, I remember
yeah,
that. It was like
yeah,
little kid parking lot in the back,
yeah,
and then we
exactly.
played handball against the library wall.
Yeah, exactly.
Right there, the same the little steps. That's where we got the ice cream. And
Yeah,
Friday ice cream day, we go and line up and get ice cream. And
yeah, exactly.
50 bar or the fudgesicles or whatever they had.
Yeah, that was amazing. I mean, such a cool time, and the teachers had to have known that they were in a special place because, Summerland was so unique. We were like the little distant cousin of Carpinteria Unified School District. So we were like they would bring a bus with our lunches and bring a bus with our, I guess whatever we needed. I mean, it was like we were supplied by the bigger school system.
Yeah, I remember.
Yeah.
In the mornings we had here lunch or here milk,
Oh, right. Okay.
so that they would know how many lunches or how many milks to bring in from Carpinteria. Even though I guess
Classic.
we had a area that the cafeteria was, where the lunch lady slash librarian slash yard duty
Yeah.
teacher's assistant. She did it all.
Yeah.
And they'd bring their little carts or whatever with all the lunches in there. And so
Yeah.
she didn't necessarily have to cook as the cafeteria lady, but I guess she had a lot of extra duties as a multifaceted school
Yeah.
assistant.
Yeah, for sure. Because she wasn't like probably a teacher, so to speak, like a certified. She was probably had to have some CPR training or something like that for a yard duty. I think they had to have a certain level of career professional / good resume or something to pull that off. To jump in there.
You got to have some training to be around kids these days.
Oh yeah.
Kids these days are a little bit. I guess they're still kids.
Yeah.
Some of the stuff that I mean, just thinking about growing up and having a cell phone or a tablet from your whole life is just interesting to think about because I still remember picking up the phone, dialing popcorn to get the time or having your friend's phone number to dial it. And Jericho, if I had to remember everyone's phone number, I'd be in a lot of trouble, I guess. I've got the cell phone and the phone book just right there. And
exactly.
The yellow pages. I mean, when's the last time you even seen a phone book, more or less?
I know, right?
Delivery or something. It's all online.
Yeah, it's all online. Up here, it's like it is a bit of like an old folks hideout up here in this town. So we did just get delivered. I can't say I have it with me, but right outside my door, there's a phone book that the company that dropped off a bunch of phone books to the offices. They just knew that there was a few doors up here because someone's job is to deliver those phone books. So it's still a little old fashioned, and I have been thinking about that lately, like the landline, because the dependence we have on the devices is pretty crazy. Like I can't imagine as a kid being responsible for something. I guess you'd probably, depending on your level of financial ability, how you get your kid to have a phone, and then you're like handing a kid $1,000 device, and and I guess that's where the insurance comes in. But we could barely keep track of like a wallet. I remember like first time getting a wallet and losing it at some point because it fell out of my pocket. But that was like a big deal. Just having a wallet,
Yeah. I mean,
we
nowadays
no,
the wallet's
yeah.
built into the phone with Apple
Oh,
Pay and
that's right. Holy
iPay or
crap.
whatever. It's
Oh my God.
you want to pay for something there, it's on the phone, and Zelle and
Yeah.
everything where it's like, oh yeah, you got a Zelle account. Let me send you the money. And there's the cash that there's no cash anymore.
Right.
Every now and then I'll go to get some cash because my helper, I'll give him some gas money or whatever. He's helping me with the dump run or whatnot. And
yeah.
So I'll have to go to the bank to get cash. But as far as like my mortgage payment, I do that online. My PG&E, I do that online. In fact, PG&E, I have it set up where it automatically pays my phone bill. It automatically pays my insurance. Wow. It automatically pays from the numbers that are typed into the computer.
Yeah.
Which is really interesting. I mean, Bitcoin and everything. I was watching a conspiracy that our beloved billionaire Elon Musk, he did the PayPal when he was much younger and sold.
Okay.
In fact, X, formerly known as Twitter, that's what the PayPal was on that website, x.com. He still has that. And I wonder, he seems like a smart guy. Technology. Was he the Bitcoin guy? Because supposedly in the lore of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency, the guy that made it, who is it? It's or it's a pretend name. What if Elon Musk? Imagine having that kind of power or that kind of funding to be like, oh, I'm going to make up a cryptocurrency. And it's really interesting because it used to be just kind of a novelty. Oh, I've got some crypto. What's crypto? Oh, it's just numbers on a computer. And then one guy bought some pizza, I guess, with the Bitcoin. I'm gonna give you 5 Bitcoin for a pizza. What's that? Well, now it's if you have 5 Bitcoin, that's close to $250,000 or something.
Wow. Yeah, it's
coins, and
oh my God.
I got a friend that does stocks, and I always tell him, oh yeah. So I gave him $100 one day. I'm like, okay, buy us some Bitcoin. And he's like, oh man, all my stocks are down. The only thing that's up is our $200 in Bitcoin.
That's awesome. I mean, I do remember when it was only like $5,000 or even less per coin, and it still seemed like a lot. It still was like, $5,000 is five. It's that's fairly $5,000 is still something fairly substantial, even though it's in the big picture it's nothing. But now I know is it 70,000 right now, or what's the?
I think it's around 50 to 70,000.
Okay, 50 to 70. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's interesting because when I was doing the computer gig, working at the data center, one of the guys I worked with, he was all, oh yeah, I've been into it since it was like $20 or $50, and he had little computers in his garage. Oh, Bitcoin mining. So
yeah, wow.
It was like, oh yeah, and when it went up to 500 or whatever, I was able to buy myself a brand new Jeep. And you just wonder, okay, if he had 5 or 10 Bitcoins back then, I wonder how amazing many Bitcoin is worth now. And it's like, so interesting, because I guess it's just another way of exchange. I mean, basically that's all fiat money is. That's all printed currency is. It's just a form of, everybody knows and trusts that you can spend it and people use it as an exchange. So I guess anything that people use and trust as an exchange, is going to hold value.
Yeah. And then when I was at H&R Block, I used them for my taxes, just to be like normal guy style or whatever. They ask you right away, do you have any Bitcoin, or do you have any cryptocurrency? Because they want to. It's kind of a thing where I guess they just checking to see if you've made a bunch of money. You know, if you've increased in your value, essentially in your account, you know, where are you at with that? You know, the government is hip to it now, to some degree. I have heard some things. I don't know a lot about it, but the government might, you know, make a currency themselves. But you know, as we talk about that, I just think to myself, like, you know, when you're on auto pay, that's awesome, because if the system does shut down, so to speak, they can't blame you for not paying the bill, because you know, across the board, it's going to be difficult in exchange. It'll just go back to, I guess at that point you'll have to maybe pay the bill in person. I have no idea how that'll work.
There's still a couple bills that we write a check for and mail
Do
it
you?
in.
Okay, that's cool. Yeah.
So I guess that's all just, you know, part of it.
That's the old ways, you know. Yeah. I mean, of course, I've been watching a little bit of old Western films and just watching those guys on horseback, even though, like, you know, Clint Eastwood was definitely reflecting on a past, because these movies are probably made in the 70s or late 60s, early 70s, 80s. And, but he's going back to before cars. You know, he's people riding horses to the bank and robbing the bank, and, you know, getting their money the old fashioned way, in hand. You know, and having to bury that gold or bury that money out back behind the old tree, instead of having it be in some weird account somewhere. And then I saw something about the supercomputers that they're building now, the quantum computers, and how at some point that thing will be able to break the code on everybody, all the passwords and all that stuff will be just completely obsolete. It'll have to be there'll be a new form of password creation, because the supercomputer can break that thing. It showed how the computers used to have to try to solve a problem, like working its way through a maze. It would have to go through each possibility one by one, where now the computer can check every possibility in one instant. It can figure out the solution to the problem. But
yeah, it's interesting to think about, you know, the quantum field. You know, I'm still doing the imagination technology program, and part of that is, you know, quantum in the quantum state, in the quantum field, you know, quantum entanglement. I guess Einstein called it the spooky connection, and they're finding that, you know, it's instantaneous, you know, faster than light speed when you have these entangled particles. You do something to one, it happens to the other. So you can, you know, kind of, if you got one a million miles away or 100 light years away, and you do it to one, that one on the other end does it. So it's like instantaneous communication. And it's kind of weird to think that those quantum computers, you know, it's not a plus or a minus as far as like binary, positive or zero or ones, but it can be in both states at the same time, like Schrodinger's cat. You know, is it alive or dead? You don't know until you open it. Which goes into the whole, you know, multiverse, parallel universe theory, which you know, is mind blowing, but at the same time, I guess it makes sense. We're all connected, you know, just like the water system in the city,
like we talked about,
the system in our body. It's all interconnected. It's all energy. You know, you could kind of pick it up if you walk into a room with someone, you know, and they're, ooh, you can feel that energy. They don't have to say anything. Or if they're, ooh, you can feel that energy. And I think that's definitely something that science is looking into, and eventually we'll understand. Maybe.
No, totally. But as humans, the need for water and food and the basic elements of our life that sustain us are, I don't see us changing much in that realm, except perhaps inventing weird foods, like in the movies where the person will just eat a pill, or pop a pill in a machine, and then all of a sudden it pops out a chocolate cake or something. I think I think the girl in what's that movie? Fifth Element. I think she does that for a second. She's pulling out some chicken, and she just keeps eating the chicken because.
Oh yeah. That was a big part there.
Yeah. So, anyways, man. Well, here we are, another show, dude. Rocking Out Show 82.
Rock and roll.
Hopefully, I'm not too sideways out there, but
cheers.
No,
straight today.
Yeah, we'll see.
I wonder what caused. I wonder if it's the position your phone is when you turn it on.
No, I got my thing locked in one of these little stupid. I'll show you right now. That little device that we share. I got two of them now because I left one at home or something one day and bought another one. So, anyways, here we are. Cheers, man. You have a great day.
Awesome. Have an awesome day. Love you, brother.
You too, man. Love you, man.